never learn any psychology ever in their lives. And it's like saying, oh, you're a natural athlete.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, you're a natural athlete. They don't train every day. No, they're going to stay an amateur, even if they're naturally athletic. You're a natural salesperson and
a student.
A student, which makes you an expert. So that's what makes somebody an expert in their field, is whether they keep studying it or not. The doctors that win the fucking awards and shit, they are constantly studying their entire career. So I think that's kind of what we can go through. You don't stop ever.
No. That's like, you know, like the other thing, like I always talk about, like, you know, going to conferences and going places. Like, dude, I'm not going to remember everything, but I always take 2 things out of everything. Usually I take more, but like it's always about like how fast can you actually regurgitate it and put it back into your process. Like some of these guys will hear this stuff, right? They'll come to your training and it sounds great. They get in the field and they don't use it. I'm like, dude, I'm going to use it that day and see what works. And I think that's what's allowed me to grow so fast. Like I was in a room with a bunch of fucking dogs and I'm like, oh, that sounds good. I'm going to use that. And I tried it that day. And if it worked, I didn't fucking stop using it. So many guys will have something they find something that works. It worked for a week and everything's good. And then all of a sudden, a week in, they forgot what the hell they were doing and they start going back to their old process and they can't figure out why they're not winning. And I'm like, dude, if you find, like, if I'm not reinventing the wheel, dude. If I find something that's gonna work, I'm gonna keep hammering it until it doesn't work anymore. You know?
Yeah, your secret ingredient, it seems like confidence, and it's what they lack. They have fear. Yeah. So they're scared to say something so invasive to a person in their face, and then they unlearn whatever they just learned. If you don't give a fuck and you just say shit to people and you have confidence, then you're going to retain the information more. So that's really the leg up. But confidence is a learned skill, so they can learn that too.
Yeah, I mean, money's on the other side of awkward.
Yeah.
So that's I always tell guys, I'm like, dude, if you don't feel awkward as shit, like I've taken 8 no's, left the house, came back, knocked on the door, got the yes after the 8th no, and I'm like, by the way, I forgot to tell you this. And they're like, dude, you're back again. I'm like, yeah, but I just spent the last half an hour fighting with my boss, Shreya, and you know, I went to battle for you. I got you the best possible price, and I'm not leaving here until you guys make a decision, because I know that if you allow me to do this job, there's not a better company, there's not a better sales guy, and there's not a better installer than my guys. So, you know, I'm like, I'll fucking hammer them. I have so many times where I literally left, went to 7-Eleven, thought about what I was gonna say, and came knocked on their door, and the people were like, what the fuck are you doing here? I'm like, I did everything I could, and this is the best offer I can give you. Like, I just don't want you to go and make a mistake with another company that's not going to do it right.
Right.
And most people are like, no, fuck that.
You fix your chain? It's on your mic.
Huh?
Chain's on your mic, literally. Like, it's stuck in the actual.
Oh, shit. Shut up, you.
Yeah, we're ready to go. Everything's good. Sounds great. Video, I mean, your side's okay. Your side's great.
Thanks, bud.
We're ready to roll.
Thanks for nothing.
Oh,
Give her the fucking good camera. I saved a good surprise on you, you bitch. I've been inside your mom too, bitch.
This is how white people insult each
other.
So like when my parents got divorced, it was me and my dad and my brother living together, and we just said the fucking worst jokes. So my dad would bring like girlfriends over, and they'd just be fucking appalled at the shit that we.
Scare them away.
Yeah, the shit that we would say. He's like, dude, you can't say that. I'm like, say what the fuck I want. Fucking bitch is trying to fuck my dad. Savage. Shreya.
Don't fuck it up.
Well,
What episode number is this?
25.
25.
You ready? Okay. Intro music.
Tell them run it all. I wake up. Yeah. I wake up, flex, thumb down now. Check, no drip, just wet. Tell them run it all. No sleep, no rest. Might crash, might wreck, but first I stretch. Tell them run it all. I wake up, flex, thumb down now. Check, no drip, just wet. Tell them run it all.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Profit Rocket Podcast. This is episode number 25. I'm your host, Victor Rancour. Today I got a guest that's someone that I look up to in the industry, someone that's crushing it, someone that's built a big name for herself in a short period of time. She went from being a sales rep out here in Southern California to now working for one of the top sales training organizations in the industry, Service MVP. Welcome my guest today, Shreya. Shreya, welcome to the episode, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
No, I'm excited to have you here, and we've had some conversations offline and some things that we were talking about, and obviously you coming from the coaching side, sales training side, and me, obviously my background is sales and sales training, and I think it'd be a good episode, and we're going to talk a little bit about, obviously about a little bit about you, but just like most of my podcasts, our goal isn't just tell stories here. Our goal is to actually give you stuff you guys can implement today in your business, or things that are going to help you change your mindset to help you crush it in sales or whatever you're trying to do in life. So, Shreya, first off, let's introduce yourself to the audience if they don't know you, a little bit about your background, and then we'll jump into the nitty gritty stuff, talking about sales and little things that these people that are listening can do to help up their sales, up their business, or up their life.
Awesome. So my name is Shreya, obviously, and I've been in sales since I was 18 years old. And I was in the car business, and then I was in HVAC sales here, Palmdale, Lancaster area, Mojave Desert, so some pretty hot attics over there. And now I work with Joe Crisera, and he was a mentor to me when I was in the field and got me really, really obsessed in deep diving into psychology and different sales processes that I've seen success from, that I also taught to my technicians, and they saw a lot of success from it too. So now I just want to share that with other technicians so they can find financial freedom in this industry.
And that's a key word, right? Financial freedom. A lot of guys, and it might be guys or girls that are listening to this, and even girls that want to get into the industry, a lot of people think it's just a technician, or he just makes $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, and they go home, they got a dirty job, and it's tiring. When there's a whole other side of it, when you're willing to put the time, energy, and effort into learning something and actually believing in helping a customer and helping up their life, right? Just because they have an air conditioner now doesn't mean there's not a reason that they can upgrade something in their system to make their life and their home and their family better. So we'll circle back around. So you've been in sales since 18, right? So you're in the car sales business. I've never done car sales. It seems like it'd be kind of fun. I mean, most of the time I feel like if I'm going to a dealership, I'm going to buy something, so I feel like it can't be that hard of a sell, but maybe it is. I don't know, especially nowadays. But anyways, everyone's like, I'm a car salesman. I'm like, come over and sell air conditioning in freaking 70-degree weather, and it's a whole different ball game, right? So
Right.
What the heck made you leave, the nice, comfy confines of air conditioning over at a car lot? You're probably sitting around waiting for people to come in. To now I'm crawling through attics and speaking to people in their house, and most people don't even want you there because I always tell people that, like, when we come in, they think we're like cancer, right? Their house is their body, right? And they think we're like cancer. They want us to fuck out. Like,
Right.
Why would you go from, hey, I'm happy buying a new car, to, hey, now I'm the hated air conditioning person that's got to come sell me shit in the hot heat? So let's talk about that a little bit.
It's a good point, because that's how I saw it too. When I was introduced with the idea to join HVAC from a great friend of mine, Devin Harrison, you know him.
Yeah.
He recruited me from the car business and looked at my pay plan, basically, and I was a top producer, at one of the biggest dealerships in the world. And he could not believe what I was making there. It was like robbery, because it's a big business, and the culture was absolutely terrible. I'm not a very emotional person. They'd make me cry with how just terrible they were every single day. So those are a couple of the things. And car sales is tough, man. Like, I thought I really had it good. Being in there, I was like, man, I'm on top of the world. I'm like 19 years old, making $100,000 a year. I'm on top of the world. But I was working from 7 a.m. to 10 or 11 p.m. and I had no life. But I wore a suit every day, so I thought that everything was great. And then I went on an interview with my old boss to join HVAC, and he really just showed me the difference in the pay plan. Hey, if you did what you did in the car business and what that would look like in HVAC, you would double your income here in the first year, and we'll give you the exact training and tools that you need to do that. They didn't say, hey, just produce. They gave me the training and tools that I needed to produce, and everything they told me is 100% true. But frankly,
But they did let you know the hours are still long, though. So.
Yeah, I didn't mind that. I'm a worker. I
Yeah.
love working long hours, So, my whole family's in the trades. Like, I have female pipe fitters in my family, iron workers, HVAC business owners. So, to me, it wasn't that far off from something that I was used to be fair. So I don't blame the girls that don't take a look at the trades. Like, they don't see it as a possibility or something that's cool Which the cool thing about you is I feel like something I respect the most about you is you made HVAC cool.
Yeah.
And that's really, really important in marketing it to young people and letting them know, like, these guys are cool. These guys are making money. They're free. They're buying houses in California, which is unheard of.
Yes.
And that's the most important thing to do to bring new people in the industry so it doesn't die out and it's not forgotten.
And I think that's one of the things that, I take a lot of pride in is like, dude, you got to make the trade sexy again. And like, that was one thing when I first did my first event, like that was our slogan. I think it was, I don't remember what it was, but it was like, we're talking about making the trade sexy again. It's like, dude, it's not your grandpa's trades anymore, right? It's not some, overweight old guy on the stage talking and fucking barely can speak over his belly, freaking talking all this crap. Like these are young guys that are 30 years old, multi-millionaires because they got into the trades. And we've been able to take over the industry very fast because we're able to start thinking differently. Instead of thinking, hey, I want to do this for 30 years, we're like, hey, how do we do this for 5 years and become rich as shit? And I think that's what attracted a lot of people to like, dude, what the hell I've been in the industry, just got 8 years, and you go from 8 years from, I was driving a 92 Honda Accord, like literally rain splattering my face on the way to the fucking interview with my window was broken. And to 8 years later, and I'm 34 years old, I exited my business. Now I have multiple businesses all over the country, but these are the things that are possible that most people never thought about before. I think a lot of social media has done that too. So I think social media has allowed for that, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So back to this, you're at a car dealership. Some random dude, I don't know how you know Devin, but friend of yours brings you over. And did you go work for Dylan, right?
Yeah.
Dylan Rucker. So Dylan, friend of mine. What's up, Dylan? You probably listen to this. So you go to work with Dylan. He says, hey, I'm going to teach you how to be a comfort advisor. What was the initial training like? Because I think a lot of people, like, they want to bring a comfort advisor in their business, but I feel like all they ever do is like, well, here you go, here's the lead, go to the house and try to sell it, make a friend. What was the process like getting into it? How much training did you do? How long did it take? Because I think a lot of people think they rush their employees almost too fast into it.
Yeah, I'll be frank, like, one, I think that HVAC salesperson might be one of the easiest people to bring from outside into the field because they're not a technician. They do need to know like the general scope on how to do the job right, but they're not going up and fixing the system.
Yeah.
So it's a really good recruiting process for something like that. And there's a lot of success in that. And that's what I do now. I bring people from other industries in as HVAC salespeople because it's fun. They could easily be multi-million-dollar salespeople. So the training was like, first it was on the computer, and it's like this training course. And I'm like bleeding out of my ears. Like it was torture, and I was terrified. I thought like, oh, I'm gonna fuck this up.
Was it Praxis?
I don't even know.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was just boring. It was just graphs and tests, and I was like starting to get really freaked out. And I'm a pretty cocky, confident person, and I'm like, I don't think I could do this. But as soon as I got out in the field, and he had me put my hands on the box, right?
Yeah.
And read the label and kind of take everything apart and go up to the ductwork. And when I got in the field, honestly, after 3 appointments, I could run a call.
Yeah.
It was common sense after that. So it's funny, weeks of going through that online training, I didn't know shit. I couldn't explain anything to you. A couple days in the field with practical hands-on experience, then I was ready to run a call.
Yeah, and I think, keep in mind, common sense isn't common, so don't think that everybody can do it. I've seen a lot. I remember I was on a ride. I had a ride along with this guy, and I was training to be a comfort advisor. His name was Jeffrey Cannoni, and I don't know if you'll listen to this or what the hell Jeffrey Cannoni's doing nowadays, but we're on this call, and I get up in the attic, and we go up there to go check the ductwork, and Jeffrey's going up there, and I'm in the attic. All of a sudden, I'm in the attic. Jeffrey's coming behind me. Next thing you know, he falls through the drywall, and he's hanging on there. He's hanging on by a 2x4, and he says, hey, did you guys know you have asbestos up here? And I'm like, dude, you're trying to fucking sell them while you're hanging from a fucking 2x4 in their hallways. Yeah. Stop it.
Covered in asbestos.
Stop it. And they're like, yeah, well, think about it if you put my hole back in my ceiling. I'm like, God damn it. But yeah, so I don't know what happened to Jeffrey Cannoni, but I was like, dude, this guy, I call my guy, I was like, this guy,
he's okay.
He ain't gonna make it. I hope you're okay, buddy. If you're watching this, I still care about you. But But yeah, so I mean, it's not always common. So like, one of the things that you got to look at, like, I'm really big at, George Donaldson, who bought my business, is really, really big on aptitude tests, right? Like, taking tests and getting an idea of what kind of person you're dealing with.
Yep, took one
So
of
he makes
those.
every single person take a predictive index, or a culture index, I think it's called, before they come on. And it's kind of crazy. He came in and he's like, dude, I tested some of your sales guys and they tested like they should be installers. And it was like, we looked at the numbers and we're like, yeah, these guys aren't, these aren't cutting it.
Right.
And then we were able to find another guy that he was actually, he was working in our office and he's tested like crazy for like ideal salesperson. So we're like, okay, well, we're taking him out and we're going to train this guy. Well, sure enough, now he's going to be one of our top sales guys.
Right.
And it's just trying to find the right personality, because I think more than anything, you got to find the right person. Someone's got drive, someone that's willing to work those extra hours, but also someone that's convincing and someone that's got confidence, right? Because you can't teach, I feel like you can't teach confidence. I don't know what your belief is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like you put the best technician next to the people person in the trades, and who's gonna outperform the other?
Yeah.
It's the people person, it's the person that's emotionally intelligent and confident and can communicate even if they have very little technical knowledge, which I did, because it's almost like the less you talk about it, the better it is. It's the same in the car business. It's in every sales book in the world, that it's just like almost like
Too techie?
shut
no
up about
checky.
the tech.
Too techie, no checkies, what we used to call it. So
Because a confused buyer,
yeah,
right?
You confused buyer is not going to buy anything. They're not going to pick anything. And I think that's one thing that Leland Smith was great at. So obviously he's the one that hired me originally, because they would hire people off personality, right? If you got personality, I can train the technical, right? So like,
Because you're doing oil changes, right?
I was doing oil changes. I mean, I've had a lot of odd jobs that kind of led to where I'm at now. So like, I mean, I was a busboy, I was a server, bartender. I worked in phone sales, so that was an interesting job, trying to get people to send me money over the phone without meeting me, and I did very well at that. So I've had a lot of odd jobs that kind of led to this. But it's like, once you can teach, you can't teach the charisma, you can't teach the communication skills as much. Like, you can practice, you can get better. I have some guys that have gotten, like, they went from like, dude, I didn't think that guy was going to be any good, but we trained him, and now he's decent.
Right.
Now there's decent, and then there's like high level sales reps, right? So I think there's a lot of guys, and a lot of companies make the mistake. They take their best selling technician, right? He's a selling tech, and then you're going to say, okay, now you're going to go run my estimates. And those guys fucking flop. They flop miserably because they're so used to having all this time and taking the units apart and being able to use a lot of leverage.
Right.
Whereas a estimate guy, you're going against 5 other people that already quoted them, and we're more expensive, so they're already freaking, we're going to battle these guys for the next couple hours. And it's a whole different ball game when you got to battle estimates, and you're $15,000 more than somebody for the same type of work.
Totally. Being the most expensive.
Being the most expensive on the market, and like that's what, that's the stuff that I was trained on, is like, how do I perceive or communicate value, right? And a lot of guys, it's hard for them to communicate value, and especially as technicians have a hard time communicating because they know every nuance that goes into it, so they get too technical in their own head, and they get this mental block like, I can't believe we're charging 30 grand, but they don't understand what goes into making 30 grand.
Totally.
That makes sense. But so now you're a technician, or you're a car sales rep. You go into Dylan's company, he trains you, gets in the field, and how long was it before you got in the field?
It was probably like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks, something like that.
So 2 or 3 weeks, you come from the car industry, and then you get into the field and you start crushing it. So, and I remember talking to Devin, and Devin's like, yeah, we got some chick that's selling like crazy for us. And I'm like, a girl is selling like crazy? What's like, obviously I heard about it. I'm like, well, first off, I'm like, how do I hire her? But that's what we do. As business owners, we're trying off the record. We're on the record, but we're always trying to, it's my job. Our job as a business owner is to recruit the best fucking people possible, and you want to find as many A players as possible. But didn't recruit her though, just so you know. But I'm like, my first thought is like, okay, we need her. Like, back then I was trying to hire everybody that can. If you had a pulse, I wanted you on the team.
Right.
So you want to talk a little bit about that? You got in the industry. What was it like the first couple months? Were you able to like take it off pretty quickly? What were the numbers like?
I feel like the first couple of months were the easiest for me because I knew the least.
Yeah.
I think that the more that I learned, the more that I really like fucked myself, like the first couple weeks I did Joe Crisera Total Immersion right away. So I had that fresh in my mind. So I'm selling 115,000 a week. You know what I mean? And like, it just felt effortless because I listened and I had a blank slate to go off of, because I'm like, I don't know anything about this.
You hadn't been beat up yet.
I haven't been beat up yet. And then I started to overcomplicate it. And, the more I learned about the technical, the more that I would mess up the calls. I would talk too much. I would try to prove how I have technical knowledge because of my insecurities of how I was not a technician, sort of thing. So it was like, I had this weird adverse effect, and it was a lot of ups and downs. Like I struggled and I did well, and I struggled and I did well. And it was always, but the conclusion, it was always my fault. Like when I was struggling, it was me. It was my mindset. It was my mentality. It's always,
Wait, a salesperson that's admitting it's their fault? That's a fucking first. I thought it was all the leads and the boss and everybody else's fault. And like, that's what I hear all day. Like, everybody blames it. And then, like, so I always do this. Mm-hmm. Every time my salesperson's struggling and they start saying, okay, well, you know, it's the calls and all this. And I said, okay, I'll go through the process. I'm like, hey, did you do this? Did you do this? No. Well, no. I'm like, okay, so you fucking went to go cook a fucking cake and you use totally different ingredients in the fucking cake, what's on the cake box, and you're expecting to make the same cake.
Yep.
It ain't making sense. So like I always teach my guys what I call it's the navigational beacon, right? Like there's a fucking line down the middle and you can zig and zag a little bit, but you got to stay on the line, right? You're getting back to the line. And I think that's one thing that a lot of guys, they let their employees flounder for too long. That's why we do meetings twice a week. Every Tuesday and Friday, I got to slap you around. Like, come back in here, we're going to go process again. And summertime, everybody just lets their guys flounder. They're like, oh, I'll bring my sales guys in once a week or once every 2 weeks. And I'm like, no, dude, that's when you got to be slapping these dudes around the most. They're working 15 hours a day. They're tired. All of a sudden, they're by the end of it, they might sell some stuff. Their average ticket goes down, right? Their closing percentage is down lower than it's ever been. But because they keep selling, they ran 6 calls, they sold 2 or sold 1. We feel, oh, they sold a job today. No, they burned fucking 5 calls.
Yeah, an expert doesn't produce based on the circumstances. Like, oh, the economy's up, so my business is doing well. The economy's down, so my business isn't doing well. Like, what kind of victim mentality is that?
Dude, if we waited on the weather in Southern California, we would go broke. And I tell the motherfuckers, I am the weather, I am the economy, I am I have to create it. Like, I haven't turned my AC on one time this year. We are July 11th in 2023. I have not turned my AC on one time this year, but we're selling multi-millions of dollars in the same market. So that's, you know, and it's a mindset thing. And you have to, like, so many times as sales guys, we get in our head like, oh, people aren't buying right now. The economy's down. They're financing this and that. Oh, we're too expensive, dude. Dude, it's never too expensive. It doesn't matter what you charge, you're always too expensive.
Yeah, it's called financing.
If I tell a customer it's $5,000, they're going to say it's too expensive. If I tell them it's $30,000, they're going to say it's too expensive.
Right.
It's never the price. It all comes down to your mindset and what your perceived value is.
Yeah, so the client is selling the technician instead of the technician selling the client, and then the technician is selling the owner on it's the leads. And the owner, I see this a lot of times, they believe it. So they are sold on the technician's excuses. So that's the issue. They are like, no, yeah, you're right. It is the leads. I'm trying to, and then they're working for the technician instead of the other way around. So it's just trying to reverse that process where the owner is selling and closing on the technician to do what they need to do, and then the technician is selling the client, and there's the correct kind of hierarchy that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a fish rots from the head, right? So a lot of times you will find that the owner's talking about negative stuff, and then that negative stuff travels on to the sales guy, and then it travels on to the technician, and travels on throughout the entire business. Like, every single day is the best day to sell an air conditioner, and the best day to buy an air conditioner, in my opinion. And a lot of people are like, well, what drove you every day? I said, I woke up every day with a clean slate. And I was telling you before this, every single day when I woke up, I would write down 5 reasons on why somebody should buy today. I think maybe it's cloudy outside, maybe it's raining. Perfect. They should buy today because we have a rainy day special. And there's never going to be a better time to buy than right now because I got installers sitting around. And I would write this stuff down before I ever got to a call. So like when someone's like, oh, we're just going to think about it. Well, I understand you want to think about it, but right now we have this going on, or we have this. And I understand you want to wait on it, but keep in mind, we're at the end of the month, the promotion ends. And one thing I always tell people to do, and this is a very big key, so I never my company has never offered a rebate or a financing at all. I always put it on the manufacturer. Hey, by the way, the manufacturer right now is offering rebates and financing. Yeah. Keep in mind, today's the 11th, it ends on the 15th, and it has to be installed by the 15th to get that rebate. I'm going to give it to you off up front, but if it's not installed by the 15th, I can't get the money back from the manufacturer, so I would love to let you wait on it and think about it. But this is one of those things, if you wait on it and think about it, you're going to miss an opportunity on saving that money. So, you know, it's on you, it's in your court. But if it was me and my family, I like saving money, and I don't know about you. So like I already have this stuff pre-planned, so when a customer gives me an objection, it's a split second.
Right.
And I think so many guys, they go in and they just willy-nilly the call, and they show up and they think it's just going to happen, and all of a sudden they get an objection and they don't fucking practice, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, I'll send you a quote. I'm like, fuck you, I don't send you a quote. I might as well drove by and threw a fucking paper airplane in your house.
And the fact that you know the objections coming, because you ask any technician, what are your most common objections? They know immediately, but don't know the answer. So you know what's coming and you're not preparing for it. It's like, that's the difference between an amateur and a professional. Like we're talking about, it's like, I feel like that's what we have in common, because I was called a natural salesperson my entire life. And I did rely on that. And I sucked in the car business when I relied on that. I did good enough, good for a girl, but I didn't make top salesperson or anything like that until I started like studying it like a craft, like a real career, like a doctor does, like a professional athlete that's naturally athletic sort of thing. And you're that type of person where you're naturally charismatic, but you're constantly studying and building on your craft at the same time. So it's not an excuse like, oh, Victor's just a natural salesperson, Shreya's just a natural salesperson. Like, people don't see the hours of work and studying that it takes to get to a certain level of communication.
You see what she's saying there, right? Is that like literally everyone thinks that you just show up and shit happens, right? Like they don't look at what happens in the dark, what happens when you're alone, what drives you, what changes you. Like for me, I never shut off, dude. Like when I wanted to be the best, like I'm still a relentless motherfucker, but back then, dude, like I wanted every dollar. I wanted to close every job. And when I got off of work every night, I was spending time working on word tracks. I was studying on YouTube. I was studying my product to make sure that there's nobody that's going to come in the house that's better than me. And I always had this belief that I only have to battle either 2 or 4 people. Most people are going to get 3 or 5 bids, okay? And I only got to be better than 4 motherfuckers. Like there's not 4 dudes that are better than me on this planet. And if they don't buy from me, they're making a mistake. And that's how I woke up every day. Like I had a belief that when I would have so much conviction when I talked to the customer that, like, I remember one time the customer said, Bob, tell me all this stuff and I'm going to think about it. I said, look, you know what, everybody needs to make a mistake once in their life. And I started packing my shit and I started walking out and that customer fucking chased me down. They're like, hey, come back. I'm like,
right.
I said, you know what, I'm just trying to save you from making a mistake. And that is all I'm trying to do, ma'am. And I don't care if you go with me or anybody else, but I want to make sure you make a fair decision, a right decision. But I already know that if you don't go with us, you're not going to get the best possible install. And they're just like, okay, let's just get it done.
And sales is a transference of belief, like you say. So it's like if you have that, and you have has to be a real, true, deep conviction, which you can build in your own morning while you're driving there. It's all day. You become like relentless, obsessed with it in a way. It really comes across in a very powerful way when you're in front of the client.
Well, sales is like you said, sales is a transfer of beliefs from one person to the other. And a lot of people, they always ask me, well, what's your number one objection? And be quite frank, and everyone always says, I don't get that many objections. Well, I don't. And this is the same thing that Joe probably teaches and I teach. It's like, dude, you got to create a process that answers those objections, right? Like, you know, Jason Walker always says, closing the doors, right? Or whatever along the way. And that's the biggest thing, the key. So like, I start almost every estimate call out the same ways. Hey, Shreya, hey, by the way, is this something you guys are trying to get done right away, or is this something you're just kicking the tires on? And either way, it doesn't matter to me. My only question is I'm trying to figure out if I can get you, save you, or get you. I messed it up, but I'm trying to see if I can, if it's something you're trying to get done right away, I want to see if I can get you those discounts and rebates that my office told you about. Did they mention that to you?
Right.
Is it something you're trying to get done right away, or you're just kind of kicking the tires on it? Either way, it's no problem.
Right, and you're seeing where they're at, getting commitments up front, handling objections before they throw them at you. It's 8 Mile. What did Eminem do? He said all the stuff he knew, the guy he was battling, he said all the stuff he knew he was going to say about him. That's what you do at a sales call. You bring up the objections you know they're going to bring up anyway later, and at the end of the call, when you're coming to a conclusion, they're already handled. If you're getting 9 objections at the end of the call, it means you avoided them and you avoided confrontation the entire call, and you didn't get any information from them the entire time.
Well, I mean, I always talk about it's like being a ninja in the house, right? Like motherfuckers are like, they move around so secretly and quietly, and then all of a sudden they get to the table and they just expect to like go up there and fucking, it's like they're swinging at a fucking pinata.
Right.
And it's like, dude, you're not gonna win swinging at a pinata with a blindfold on. Like,
they're still a stranger.
Still
a
a stranger
showing them prices for $30,000. How the hell do you think that people are going to react to that?
No.
They don't like you, they don't know you, they don't understand you, and you're telling them that they're going to pay $30,000 for this.
And the other thing I see all the time is that, you know, just so you guys know, the first no you get is just a test to see if you have any conviction. So like a lot of guys, they get that first no and they're like, okay, well, I'll send you a quote. Well, that's when you're like, you know, Shreya, is there something that I missed on this? Because based on like what we talked about, I designed the system specifically for you. You told me you wanted this, this, and this. I'm just really confused on what happened because I thought we built this beautiful system for you and your family, and I'm not sure why you don't want to move forward with it, because it sounded like you were ready to get this done. You like me and my company, and we're able to turn it back around, where most guys are like, they're like, oh yeah, just send us the estimate. Okay, I'll send you the bid, and they're out the door. The first one is just testing if you have conviction in what you're selling.
Right.
And then most guys, or they'll start discounting right away. And I'm like, I always tell people, I'm like, Shreya, I would love to give you a discount, but I don't think it'd be fair to charge you any different than your neighbor, and I don't think you'd be like it if I charge your neighbor less than I charge you.
That's cool. I've never heard that. I like that one a lot. Charge you less than your neighbor. And it's like, it is a test. It's like the discounting is my biggest pet peeve, because you're failing the test and you're proving, that they're right. My job is worth less than I showed you.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing you could possibly
Dude, if someone came into my
do.
house, they quoted me 20 grand, and then they go down to 5 grand with just a couple objections. I'm like, dude,
Then
like,
I don't know what to believe.
like, how far can you go?
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, this is the same line I always say. We're not the cheapest, we're not the most expensive. We all are 10 years from now when you need us. And I always have the praying hands at the end. It's not the cheapest, I'm not the most expensive. We're somewhere in the middle, but I know we charge exactly what we have to charge to run a 5-star business and be in business 5 years from now, or 10 years from now when you need us. Most of my competitors, and keep in mind, Shreya, that in this industry, 95% of people fail within the first 5 years and 98% the first 10.
Right.
Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because they don't charge you enough money up front.
Right.
They don't understand how to operate a business.
Right.
And the big thing with us is we understand the numbers. We know what it's going to take to be here 10 years from now. Because guess what? The problems aren't going to happen 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now. They're going to happen 5, 6, 7 years down the road. And when you call us, don't you want to have someone answer the phone?
Yes, I do.
And I can't guarantee that's going to happen if I go any less. And that's where we're at. And,
Yeah,
and I feel like
that's
we have a fair
beautiful.
price. Is there any other reason why you wouldn't want to move forward with us? And I just move on. My favorite thing, I just ask for their ID. Can I get your ID? We'll just get the financing started. I'll say it like fucking 5 times so they give me their ID.
Right, and you're connecting the value to the service. That's what I love, is it's not the parts. It's like, well, this is a 2-stage. Like, that doesn't mean that much to them. It's really in the service that you provide, and like you said, that you'll be there 10 years down the line, and really stuff that they don't understand, which is like a warranty. When I learned, Joe taught me, like, you know that it's not really warranted unless they do the maintenance every year. So unless they get a maintenance that matches the warranty, it's like they have no warranty. You could totally see it that way, and that's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. So they're thinking they're getting 10 years of warranty from everybody, but
Yeah.
they're not offering 10 years of maintenance. They're not offering long-term maintenance, and they're not going to be around by that time statistically.
Statistically, they won't be around. So obviously there's a lot of nuance to sales and communication. So many guys try to sell off SEER rating and all that stuff. I sell off comfort.
Yes.
And obviously that's my biggest thing I've always sold off, because I'm in California, dude. It's a luxury item. Like, you don't
Beautiful.
I don't need an air
Yeah.
conditioner. I'm in Huntington Beach. I would say 50% of the houses here still don't have AC in them, right?
Yeah.
And I had to add AC when I moved into my house. So it's like, dude, you have a luxury item that are spending $30,000. They're not buying just off price. They're buying off value. They're buying off the company. They want to have trust. Because, dude, there's so many contractors out there I wouldn't even want in my house.
Oh my gosh, Joe just got like 3 estimates for, and the fact that Joe had to get 3 estimates is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Me and Joe are like, if I walk into a car dealership, I'm buying the car because I'm a premium buyer and don't waste my time. I just want the thing that I want right now. But if somebody like Joe is like that and he has to get 3 estimates because they couldn't even get him a price on 3 people. Couldn't even give him a price, let alone options. He told them exactly what he wanted, very premium job, and they gave him an economy job that was nothing like what he asked. And he even warned them of who he was before the call. Hey, just so you know, he's not testing them
I think it probably intimidated him a little bit, but you know what I mean.
They sucked. I mean,
Yeah.
like everybody that went out, no communication, no relationship. They couldn't even get him the damn price,
Well,
the very least.
You know what my favorite one is, and this one probably resonates with you, is when a sales rep goes out and it's just the wife phone. Dude,
Yeah.
I fucking love it, dude. I'm like, leave me alone with the wife.
Right.
You're fucked. You're
That's
gonna buy.
that's way better than
Dude,
just
I'm
the
like,
husband.
you should have stayed here yourself, big dog. 'Cause you left me with the wife. I'm selling her fucking everything. Did you know you're getting water filtration? You're getting fucking attic insulation. You're going to get everything today.
Emotional.
But
She's
the
like
problem
the
is,
safest.
well, so
Yeah.
many sales reps, they come in, they're like, oh, it's just a one-legger and the wife, and they're like, when's your husband gonna be home? It's like, dude, no, like, dude.
Yeah, they're
my-
gonna get offended by that.
In my
too.
house, I'm never home. So like, if you don't treat the wife right, you're not gonna get what you want, right? Like, I'm never home at
Exactly.
all. And so many reps still to this day, I'm like, dude, ask yourself, who really makes the decisions in your house?
Right.
Your wife. Your wife makes the decision, so why wouldn't you talk to the person that makes the decision in your house in someone else's house? Because she's going to make the decision. I guarantee you, if 3 guys come out there, 2 of them say you got to wait for your husband, and 1 guy educates the shit out of her, right, and shows her and takes the time and educates her and goes through the whole process with her, I bet you're going to win. And so many guys are still losing that. And I don't know if you see that a lot still, but I'm like, I still see this like machismo thing where they think that the guy has to be there. I'm like, dude, most women can make decisions. It's 2023.
It's because, once again, it's a miseducation. Everything comes down to miseducation and not understanding the psychology of how humans and how the world works and how things function. It's just tunnel visioning on the box, you know, on the HVAC system, and not the people. It will always come down to that. And until you learn that, it's like you're going to work harder, not smarter, and not have an opportunity for financial freedom. Is like, you need sales for anything you do in any industry. Even if you're not in sales, you need to understand how to communicate with people and human psychology to get along in this world. You could see now, like, kids on their iPads now, they can't even talk to people.
Well, I think it's become so easy to compete in this day and age because so many people they just don't know how to communicate. It's made everything so easy.
They're socially awkward.
They're so socially awkward. I'm like, dude, this is easy. I just barely have to try, and I get to fucking win. You guys get to sit over there and lose. So, like, you know, I think you got to get out. You got to get out and get more comfortable. We could talk sales all day. We could talk that all day. The other thing I want to bring up, you know, and that's something we've been, you know, obviously going around lately is being a woman in the trades, being a woman around men. You know, especially a pretty woman. You're young, you're pretty. How has that been? I mean, obviously there's, you know, this industry's got some old school guys, and we got some, you know, some guys a little respect nowadays. But like, how has that been, getting into the trades, and how have you been treated? You said you used to cry at the car dealership. You still cry in the trades, or what's going on?
No way. That's the big thing. Is I think that I have the benefit of a contrast. I have a very strong contrast. I've never been in a female-dominated industry, so I only know what it's like to work with men. And in the car industry, I mean, they call me the C word, the B word, like on a daily basis, just trash my character and all of my talent on a daily basis. They try to break you down because they're jealous of you outselling somebody that's a veteran in that industry. In the trades, I gotta be honest, unpopular opinion, I have felt very supported. I feel like the benefits have outweighed anything else, any negatives, although I've had certain situations. But I think that it just comes down to, like anything that anyone does, is you're your own person. It's like you have control. Remove yourself from the situation, and once again, it comes down to communication. Because when you
gotta set that motherfucking boundary, like,
right.
That's a boundary. That's a big.
That's the big thing, because you can't expect it to never happen. You're not going to change the world. You're not going to change how men act, but you can change. You're not going to change customers before you get there, right?
Yeah.
But when it happens, are you going to be prepared and know how to communicate with them and say, hey, that's not really appropriate. I don't really communicate that way. So, and you pull them aside, you don't embarrass them, you do it on a private level. You know, to embarrass a man is dangerous, I feel.
Yeah, that's not a good feeling.
On a private level, and you let them know, you shake hands with them. This is just the truth and how I've done it. And they never do it again. And then, lots of people don't do it. There's not a lot of people that will do that with me anymore, because they know better. And they know the people I have in my circle, and I don't think they want to risk, like, those people knowing.
We already seen what happens when you risk it for a biscuit. You don't disappear, buddy. You're gonna get canceled. I already told Shreya, I'm like, I ain't getting canceled on this episode. I promise you. I'm gonna shut the fuck up.
I might get canceled before you. You never know what you're gonna get canceled for. I could get canceled for saying, well, just speak up for yourself.
Yeah.
You never know, but that's just my opinion. That's my personal experience.
Well, you know, and I deal with it too. Obviously, Michelle's my business partner, and it's constant. Like, we see some of the stuff me and my brother see. Like, these guys are like, they're like catcalling on freaking Zoom calls. I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you people? Like, and they're like, hey, when are we gonna have you one-on-one? And like, it's like, dude, it's kind of crazy. And I've never been like someone like that. That's like, that's just creepy to me. I just wouldn't go out of my way to do. I guess
Isn't it weird to imagine yourself just talking that way all the time?
Dude, it's freaking weird. Like, I'm not perfect, right? But I'm like, also, I just never been like an awkward person. Like, I'm not gonna make someone feel awkward. Like, you can tell, like, I don't know, it's just freaking awkward.
Try to do her job, man.
But I'm just telling you, like, if you guys are listening to this, like, dude, like, grow up, dude. It's 2023. Like, this isn't 1960s anymore. Women have a say. Women are gonna be a badass part of the industry. We need more women in the industry. I know that Michelle's got her nonprofit. E3 that she's working on to bring more women into the trades, and that's something that we're really excited about and promoting at the event as well. But we just, like I said, I think we just have to embrace it, and I think the more people that we embrace and the more people that come into the industry are better. And I think the trades need women. I think some of my almost all my businesses are ran by women, or I would say a big part of my businesses have always been women running it. So I'm kind of like, if y'all don't know, like, I'm kind of special. Like, I got ADHD like a motherfucker. Like,
Nobody knows I'm sure.
I can barely stay. Yeah, you guys can see I can barely sit still. But like, dude, I would be a mess. With like, I got my brother, but also like the women that are around me that fill in a lot of the gaps of stuff that I could never do. And so I'm grateful for all the women that have been around me. I've been lucky. But yeah, so if you guys are, just have some respect, man. I think that's the biggest thing. And when you guys meet Shreya, you meet Michelle, you meet these girls, just respect them. Like, they work their ass off to get where they're at, right? I know Michelle, like, she works her ass off to become a badass business coach and learn and become very knowledgeable. And she's more knowledgeable than I probably will ever be. Same thing with Shreya. She's probably more knowledgeable than most of you guys will be in sales. So don't be intimidated, but yeah, just have a little bit of respect.
For sure. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. And yeah, just don't make me pull you aside,
Yeah. Now I know what you're pulling people aside for. I'm like, what's she doing over in the corner? She's like,
you're going to wonder every time.
Slap him around. So you've been in the industry for a couple years now. You're working with Uncle Joe. You want to talk a little bit about that? I mean, obviously he's the OG, right? Like, he's got a lot of respect in the industry. He's been around the block. He tries to do his best to stay on the sidelines, I think, on a lot of stuff, like be smart about it. He's one of the guys that will listen before he talks, where most people nowadays, they talk before they listen. What's it been like working with Joe and working with Service MVP?
Yeah, well, Joe is like one of the biggest mentors in my life, really. He's really like a father to me. So I feel really.
Yeah, he's uncle to us. He's a father.
He's father to me.
Father to you. That's
not
funny.
Daddy.
Yeah.
Father.
Whoa. Fuck! I got canceled. I got fucking canceled.
You got canceled. We got it.
Sorry, Joe. I got canceled. You got me. You've been fucking. Yeah, I'm fucked.
Yeah, he's like he's like a father figure. He's just he's perfect. We're like a perfect father-daughter combo because we're both really obsessive about these processes and psychology, and we nerd out over this stuff, and we never get sick of it, ever, So he's just the perfect person that I could grow with, and see a future with, and I'm extremely loyal to him, and I just really believe that all I know is what I experience in the field and loving my job in the trades, doing labor work, like sliding off the roof because it's icy, it's 165 degrees in the attic, and I went home happy, not just because I made money, because the way he teaches it is I learned how to connect with people in a real way that I actually needed to be taught, and I don't have that naturally. To be honest, I maybe am a little like closed off and a little bit cold naturally. It really like changed my life and opened me up, and just introduced me to all these people. And yeah, I'm just really excited for what we're gonna do. I just want to really share what I've learned with as many people as possible, because it's like crack when when you see like a little technician become this like multi-million-dollar.
Dude, I got a guy who went from food stamps to hundreds of thousands a year.
Right.
And like it's like what that's the joy in my life, I guess.
Got a text right now from a technician.
Text right now from a technician. My brother.
Perfect.
New technician. He just had his best day ever. Did you train him or I train him?
I trained him just recently. He's on the HVAC 101, but he's in the W next.
Boom. We just sold a $25,000 job. So like that kind of stuff. Messages a day, and I have some people who are like, I never met them or even interacted with them. They're like, hey, I watched your training videos 2 years ago and it changed my life. Somebody texted me the other day. I'm like, dude, that's freaking badass. So I think that's kind of one of the things that we don't think about. So the other way you're giving back to the trades, right? You want to talk a little bit about your podcast and what's going on with that?
Sure. How this happened, I met Mandeep at your event, actually.
Yeah, I think Profit Rocket just brings people together, you know? So, well, it's kind of crazy. I feel like I'm the only event where it's like I just bring everybody in. Like, I think it's the most open event. I think it's like, I bring competitors in, I bring people in. Like, I just want everybody to have fun. So I think it's kind of funny that, like, some people are like, I met at Profit Rocket. And it's like,
right. And I appreciate that because, like, when I went to, I've probably made multiple relationships that I feel like are going to last a lifetime and have completely changed my business by just attending that event. And whether it's during the speaker or after hours, hanging out at the bar, like, no matter what the situation is, you're around like-minded people that want to get better. And that's a very valuable thing, especially when it's like 1,000 people that are like that. There's something very special about bringing people together like that. And the reason really why we started it is because I'm on Zoom calls all day and I have such a privileged life. I get to talk to entrepreneurs that are just obsessed with getting better all day long. And it gives me so much energy. I just feel so lucky. There are people that I like look up to that I get to have 1 to 2 hour conversations with as my job. You know, so I really have no excuse to not be successful, by the way. That's like me putting it on record for myself. But the reason is because while I'm on those private meetings, it's exactly like a podcast. And I was telling Mandeep about this, and we're like, I kind of feel selfish for the kind of information that I'm getting on these private meetings. I feel like I should just record it and like release it because the kind of shit that I hear on these meetings that people are very willing to share because they're confident in themselves and they're not thinking about, is everybody gonna steal my stuff? Is super valuable. So that was really, it was like a 2 a.m. Vegas conversation turned podcast sort of thing.
And the podcast, if someone wants to listen to it, what's it called?
Born for the Trades, a home service podcast.
And that's on Spotify, Apple, everywhere, YouTube.
Yeah, all the sources.
All the sources. So you guys got to go check it out. And you know, Mandeep's a good guy as well. I mean, I actually haven't had a chance to listen to the podcast yet because I got ADHD and I barely listen to anything but my self-talk half the time. But no, I mean, obviously what you're doing is awesome, and you know, we see it from the outside, and there's a level of respect that I have for people that are hustling, and I think that there's a lot of good people in the industry, and I think that obviously Profit Rocket and our goal is to bring people together. If you haven't got your tickets yet, it's probably going to be sold out by the time this podcast drops. But it's September 27th through 29th in Austin, Texas. Come out. It's going to be badass. We're expecting about 2,000 contractors out there. We have everything from call center training, sales training, management training, operations, business, how to grow a business in a small market, how to grow a business in a big market, how to market your business, like everything you're going to need from there, and a bunch of motivation too. So if you want to look in there, you want to just get a kick in the ass, it's a good event for anything. It doesn't matter if you're in HVAC, plumbing, electrical, roofing, doesn't matter what it is, there's going to be something you guys can get out of the event. But Shreya, I'm excited to have you there. I'm excited to have Uncle Joe there speaking as well. So also, I just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast, taking some time out of your busy day. Is there any other words you want to leave for anybody?
No, I just really appreciate you having me on. I respect you so much. So I used to listen to you and keep up with what you're doing in my little truck sort of thing. So this is kind of like a paradigm shift for me. So thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for tuning into the Profit Rocket podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, I'm going to bring you on another guest next week that's going to help you, your business, your life get better. And that's what our number one goal with this podcast is. I do this for you guys for free. My only ask is that you invite some other people, share this podcast, share it on YouTube, share it on Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you guys can share it, bring some more people in. The more people that can jump in here, the more people that can get better, the more we can raise this industry up. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week.
Bunch of tweakers.